The King Pollys World. The place where dreams come true. Where you never know what will happen. But you'll leave happier than before. We're here on episode 4. And it is our New Year's Eve special podcast. And I am joined by the man that I want to spend all my New Year's Eves with. King Polly's husband.
Thanks, babe. I want to spend all my New Year's Eves with you. That's an interesting thought.
How many New Year's Eves have we spent together?
I have no idea. We've been together. This will be our 7th, right?
I think, yes.
And I know at least one in the last 7 I was at Bellagio.
Working. Yes. Which we thought it would be fun to talk about our New Year's Eves of the past, especially being Vegas kids.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I'm very excited for you all to join us. Thank you for being here. Maybe you're listening. Maybe you're on the tube. Maybe you do both. That would be really cool. Hey, leave a 5-star review if you're having a 5-star time. And we appreciate that. And you can leave a voice message too for us, and we can listen to it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. There's a button under. It's on Spotify because this podcast is through Anchor, and you can leave a voice message.
Whoa.
Yeah. I probably should have said that earlier, but oh well. We learn and you go.
Wow, I never knew that.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
Wow, that makes me feel like I want to get on there and leave a few people some messages. That's a great way to...
I don't know if everybody has it turned on.
Totally.
But yeah.
But if they do, and the chances of them hearing your comment and hearing what you have to say.
Yeah. You can get in touch.
Yeah.
Which is cool. We're all just one touch away these days.
Wow, it's so crazy.
One touch away. We're also both rocking our King Polly merch. KingPolly.com. I have my I love you shirt. I love you. And
all peace, no F's. What else did we say the other day? I said something.
Love to all. Love for all.
Fear of none.
Of none.
Love for all, fear of none.
Yeah.
Fear no man.
Mm-hmm.
Love all.
We're moving into 2022. I feel like I only just started to write the date of 2021.
I feel like I don't even 2021 just was mashed together with 2020 for me.
Right.
I feel like it's going 2020 and now we're stepping into 2022.
That's how I feel. Like it was a mashed potato surprise.
It was just an extension of 2020.
Mm-hmm. It was. And
2.0.
Now we're moving into 222. I mean, that's stellar if you're a number person like me. This New Year's Eve, we're probably just gonna be here.
Yeah, I am definitely want to stay.
Yeah, we
chill.
wouldn't go anywhere.
No.
But last year,
stayed home, chill.
Stayed home. Year before, stayed home.
And then the year before, I was at Bellagio working the banquet.
Working on the Vegas Strip.
Mm-hmm. Working a banquet, New Year's Eve ball banquet.
How many people were there?
I think 2,000.
Wow.
It was a big ground ballroom, 2,000 people with a special guest performance that was unannounced to all. So the guest...
I remember you told me, it's a surprise. We don't know who's going to perform.
The guest and us that were working the event, we had no idea. And they ended up being Bruno Mars. Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
It was really cool.
Uptown, funky town. Right?
Yeah. Every time I hear a Bruno Mars song come on, I always think of working that night.
Yeah. I remember, oh my gosh, that night you were working for New Year's Eve. I was home with the kids and we had a nice, fun evening. We watched movies. I made popcorn. I remember, oh my God, it was like, no, that was 2018.
I'm not good at like recalling things like that.
I don't know either. But it was one of my favorite New Year's Eve just with the kids. I loved that. That was full circle because all the New Year's Eves of my past sort of went floating by in my mind's eye. And I was like, how far you've come. I've only spent one New Year's Eve ever on the Strip.
I just recalled that I also did New Year's Eve in Dre's After Hours when I bussed tables there, and Lavo nightclub as a busser. I did New Year's Eve there. I just remembered those.
Was everybody super wasted?
Actually, no. New Year's Eve was actually my favorite night to work in the nightclub because the minimums to get in the club and the table service was so high that it's actually it was like the highest amount of money for the least amount of people. So it was that New Year's Eve and Super Bowl were my two best money nights in the nightclub as a busser. But it was fun. I actually liked it. It was like because you got just no one showed up unless they were spending a lot of money. And then, everybody was like a big deal. You're in Vegas spending a lot of money for New Year's. So people they put a lot into that night. It wasn't, I don't know, it was just everybody was there to have a good time. Everybody was there. And it was just I don't know, it just felt like a much more it was a mellow night actually in the nightclub. It was a fun, mellow night. Because in Vegas, the nightclubs are always ragers. That's the whole thing is to just rage out. That's everybody goes there just to be, and then they're
in the dark.
Yeah, in the dark. I mean, there's a reason why there's so many security guards, and it's you actually get you get the highest quality of partiers on New Year's Eve in the nightclub. You get no amateurs. There's no amateurs can afford to go to the nightclub on New Year's Eve. Yeah. And no one wants to get kicked out either. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to mess up that night. You know what I'm saying? Messing up a Friday night or Tuesday night, whatever, but no one wants to mess up New Year's Eve night. You know what I'm saying? And it's just everybody's on high alert. That's just a night where you want to, if you're going to party, you need to be able to party.
Mm-hmm. My one New Year's Eve on the Strip, I was 21. I just turned 21.
And you went down to the Strip for New Year's Eve?
I had just retired
Wow.
I had just retired my fake ID. Angela Fiorini, may she rest in peace. I was 32 from New York when I was 18. But went to the Strip with my boyfriend at the time, who was the biggest douche ever.
So you were freshly 21 in December, because your birthday's in December. Mm-hmm. And then you got your douche boyfriend, and you're freshly 21.
His friend, who you met, who you know, Brandon.
I met him where?
I introduced you and you took him to the
Brandon
high school.
Copy.
And his girlfriend at the time. So it was two couples.
So it was Brandon, his partner at the time, and then your douche boyfriend. You're freshly 21 and you're going down to the Strip for New Year's Eve. Where do you go? Tell me where you go.
So I had done the show that night.
At the Rio,
Tony and Tina's wedding.
So you're on Flamingo.
And so we were at the Rio. So we're let's walk down to the Strip from the Rio.
It's kind of your best option right there.
It was the best option, but it's a far walk.
So fucking far.
Everywhere on the Strip, they make it look like it's close. It is not close. From casino to casino, it's 4 million miles.
Caesars to Rio is the biggest optical illusion in terms of a walk. And because
You got
the
to go over the
walk
highway.
is like an arch, and the highway, like little ramp that they have for you walking, doesn't it do like a really weird zigzag detour if you stay on it properly?
I don't remember.
I feel like it does.
Oh, but it was closed down. That ramp was closed down.
So that you could just, pedestrians could walk.
Yes.
It turns into like everybody just walks.
I'm remembering that now.
Yeah.
And so when we finally got to the Strip, I got out of the show around 9:30.
Okay.
And, you walk down there, but there's so many people, it's really hard to even get into a casino.
Oh, to get into a casino.
So you're just on the street.
Yes.
You're standing in the middle of the boulevard.
Yeah.
And there's, stations to buy drinks. Mm-hmm. So, we were drinking. I drank a lot back then. I drank so much all the time. I don't know how I survived. But when you had to pee, that's what really sucked. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go. You couldn't go. So it was very miserable. And it was cold, and we're all just standing in the middle of a street. It finally goes to hit midnight, and we're like, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. And then once it hits midnight, all of a sudden, it's almost like we all become even more packed than we were. Mm-hmm. And you literally couldn't move. It was like, like it became real. Like all of a sudden, everybody was like, what am I doing? Who am I? Like, oh no. The pumpkin, like the carriage turned into the pumpkin at midnight. And so then you have to walk all the way back and then, the night didn't end there. We still partied. We partied pretty hard.
Did you stay in like a hotel down there?
No. They had an apartment right across from UNLV. It's a real shithole. They tore them down. They're not there anymore.
Yeah.
But for 21, the debauchery that went down to after, it was like, wow, okay. Welcome to adulthood. And it was only downhill from then.
Fast lane.
Yeah.
That's interesting. When you were sharing that, you reminded me of my experience when I actually was down on the Strip for New Year's. And I don't know if I was 21 yet. I don't think that I was. I think I was younger. I think it was like 19, 20. And a couple friends got a room. I want to say it was at the Flamingo or the Link at the time, which was the Imperial Palace. And all I remember is just like being a kid and like going down to the Strip, like, and that it was just like, it was a journey and adventure just to get there. And then like, I remember walking into the room and just seeing like just all my friends that weren't like 21 yet, and how we have a hotel room on Las Vegas Boulevard. Like, wow, this is like extremely exciting but also extremely scary, right? And I had someone had brought mushrooms, so I ended up eating a little bit of mushrooms. Like, I want to say like we had kind of tried to plan it for when the ball dropped, so I want to say that I ate them. I don't know, but like a half hour to an hour before, so that I would be kind of like almost like when the ball drops, right, in fireworks, right? The old idea was like when the fireworks. But like you said, I don't really remember any of that. Like there was like excitement and fun and scariness. But then afterwards, and then walking back and trying to get back into the hotel room, everything's boarded up and I had to go pee. And there was nowhere to go. You can't go anywhere. And I was like seriously starting to freak out. Like I started to like go into like an element of panic. And I was like right by the Flamingo, and I was probably like, I don't know, like 20 yards, 30 yards away from the edge. And there was probably like 10 to 15 people between me and the edge. And I worked my way as much as I could. And then I just got to a point and I asked my friend to boost me up. I said, I got to get out of here. I'm going to just like surf the crowd into the side and then pee in the bushes over there. And he boosted me up and I just like swam across the top of the crowd and then fell into the bushes. And I don't know. I don't remember anything after that.
Wow. Did you lose your friends?
I mean, I made it back. I know that there was no casualties that night. I know I was like, F this and F being on the Strip for
That's
New
how
Year's.
I was that time. I was like, never again.
Never
and
again.
I never did again.
It was so crazy.
But I knew I had to at least once.
And then And that was like, I literally never even touched the strip on New Year's until I had to work it in the nightclubs. And that was like, I was kind of like off of it. I was like in like a black box hidden off of on the strip. And then when I had to work it, when Cosmopolitan opened that first year, I did valet, and and I worked that New Year's, and I swore I would never work New Year's again for valet. It was the stupidest shift for valet because we made zero money because I was working graveyard. So my shift started at midnight. So everybody was already where they wanted to be by the time my shift started. So literally, I just stood around for 8 hours. And the thing that upset me the most was I watched all these people with small children and kids. And I'm like, why are you here? And so it was just like I made no money, and then I was just like pissed off at parents. So I was like, I'm never doing this again. And so that was the last New Year's I worked, other than, and then I did the banquet at Bellagio.
I worked on New Year's Eve at the D when I cocktailed, and that was the worst. It was so dumb. I couldn't stand it. They promised everybody free champagne toast at midnight in the D. So pretty much all of us cocktail servers became just bitches, and we just carried around free champagne to give to everybody. So people just came in for the champagne. Like, we weren't getting tipped. It was just like so annoying. All the drunk people. That was, by the time I was working there, I had officially become fed up with drunk people. Like, there had just been so much of it in my life, and I had been one for so long that it was like, wow, okay, I'm starting to see this now. Like, I can't anymore.
I think I remember I came to pick you up that night.
Yeah, you
and
came
I won
and
some
visited
money.
me.
I won money.
It was so sweet to see you.
Yeah, it was cool. That was a good night. I
Cocktails,
gambled that night.
cocktails. And, that was one of the places I worked where I would have nightmares about it. That I would come out with a full tray of drinks and not remember where any of them went. And just be like, like, that you're in a stressful job when you have nightmares. Like, I haven't had nightmares in 2 years now.
I just realized I spent New Year's on downtown then that year. It was just such a weird thing because it was like I just showed up and I was just thinking, like, how did I get in there? Like, I did some like back road stuff and then like somehow valeted.
Yeah. I don't know how you did it. And we got out so smooth. That was really nice and smooth.
Yeah, we were in and out. Like, somehow, like, I found a way to get us in and out.
I think I got off at 1 a.m. Well, I was going to say, it's not about New Year's Eve, it's about Halloween. But that was the worst shift I've ever worked in my life. In my whole life. No, I've had a few worse shifts. But when I cocktailed there, and it was Halloween, which also was daylight whatever, where we added an hour, and I was graveyard. So I got into work to clock in at 2 a.m. was when we clocked in for grave. And right when I'm going to clock in, it switches to 1 a.m. And I was like, oh my God. So I was there that day for 9 hours till 10 a.m. on Halloween. You want to talk about in the casino, Halloween, drunk in costumes?
Halloween was my least favorite holiday to work in the nightclub because, like, everybody with their weird costumes, and then all the girls with their little feathers, and then, the nightclub managers are always obsessed with keeping the floors clean. So it's like all these feathers on the floor.
And sequins, glitter.
And then in that year, there was at Dre's After Hours, they did a Halloween costume contest, and it was the year that The Tree That Talks, the movie with the tree that talks. He says the same word over and over, the same word, and they fly through space. The blonde, good-looking guy everybody likes. Oh, man.
Wait, are you talking about Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes.
Not everybody likes that guy now.
Yeah, whatever.
But anyway.
Who cares? But
Yeah.
at the time.
Good blonde, good looking guy everybody likes.
At the time, whatever.
You're so funny. I love when you describe movies. But I also can't stand when I have to describe a movie to you or try to get you to remember who I'm talking about. Because I'm like, oh, you don't know. You don't remember. You don't remember movies or names. Names.
But that year, like that movie and Transformers. So there was like these huge costumes. And it's just crowded with people. That's the worst. It's a cluster.
Yeah, cluster.
Anyways, what other New Year's?
So, okay. I remember when it switched from 1999 to 2000. The Y2K New Year's. Heard around the world. Where we were all told by the news. Everybody, it's the end of the world. Our computers aren't ready to switch. Our computers don't know how to go from 999 to 000. So make sure you buy your gas masks. And so my dad did buy 3 gas masks. I remember that. But I was 13. I just turned 13. And I was with my best friend, Andrea. And we just went and grabbed pots and pans from the kitchen and wooden spoons. We were just running around outside, just making noise, just me and her, just so happy. Like, the world didn't end. The world didn't end. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Which is crazy to think about.
I was 20. You were
20?
I don't know what I was doing. I remember I was
Y2K?
scared. I remember I had some fear. But I remember, if I was 20, then I ended up, by the time it was midnight, I was out in the desert drunk somewhere. So everything was cool. With some friends and a bonfire.
I never spent a New Year's with a bonfire.
No? In the desert?
No. There was only one time in my high school life where I was hanging out at a park trying to find some people, trying to find a party.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys were there. And they're like, we're going to a desert party. And they were from Centennial. And I was like, they're so cool because I'm Western. And so me and my best friend drove in the desert. And I just remember being so scared because, like, he was driving my truck and was drunk. And, like, I couldn't see what was... I was like, wow, I'm going to die.
It's so interesting how we're just so graced through life. Like,
right?
You just
How?
taught me through, like, just so many, like,
How did
just
I
inches
live?
and seconds. Inches and seconds. So many times. So many times.
Oh my gosh, so many times. And then I remember the first New Year's Eve I ever had to work in my life. And I was 16. And I worked as a hostess at the San Lorenzo Italian restaurant in the Texas station. And I had to work New Year's Eve, right? And all of the reservations and all of the... And just doing all of that.
Till midnight? That late? Or just during
No,
the day
not-
before?
My shift started at 4 p.m.
Yeah, so it was like over by 10.
Yeah. And back then, the Texas station was hip.
When it first opened, yeah.
It was hip. It was my neighborhood casino. That's where I had my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
The bowling alley.
Fiesta in Texas. The Fiesta ice skating ring was my spot. I was all about that ice skating ring. I was trying to
Too
ice skate
cold.
and play hockey.
Too cold and hard for me. I liked the oily bowling balls more. And then I'm trying to remember, like, college New Year's Eves. But I can't remember.
Yeah, like I think when I think about New Year's Eve, I just think about like working in the nightclubs. I think about the Bellagio banquet and Bruno Mars.
You already said all this.
Yeah, so.
Okay. If I have to hear Bellagio banquet one more time. I'm just kidding. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Come back.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay.
Or working the point was like just like having to turn people away on New Year's on the street when I was at Cosmo. Yeah, I don't know. I don't got anything else coming to me right now.
am hopeful for our future New Year's. If I had to dream up my perfect New Year's, it would involve us, the kids, people we love, a lot of food, karaoke, a fire, outside, and some form of like sharing, right? Like everybody sharing from their last year and their intentions for the next year, and it just being just an opportunity for connection, and I find that it really helps, like during these so-called holidays, like to be mindful, just to be mindful of what it really could be, with the opportunity present. That sure, not everything is going to change tomorrow. Not everything is going to be fixed. I'm not going to be a whole new person, but on some level I am, and I can. And it is these simple shifts in our mind that there's always opportunity to begin again, and it can be new.
And when you were sharing, what came up for me is how I feel like over the last couple of years, like the New Year's have really turned from a time to party to just a time to reflect. And I feel like the last couple of years that's really what New Year's has been for us, is like just reflecting and just marinating on like what the year's been, and just giving grace and just seeing if there's anything I need to clean up, and just trying to make it clean and go into the next year fresh. And
writing helps. Some, just even in one page, but a little bit of just like something about that helps me just sort of get things out, even if I never look at it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, it helps you. It helps you have to make a choice, and it helps you kind of organize your thoughts. It goes from being a tornado to having to be a somewhat of a path,
It
like a
goes
straight
from the
line.
unseen inside, the darkness, the
Mm-hmm.
unmanifest,
Wow. Yes.
to then entering the light of day and becoming physical.
Mm.
Same with our words. But our words, again, there's something about seeing it written. It's interesting. That's really interesting.
And I always like to reflect on pain. And I like to reflect on pain and think, what was the benefit of it now? Like once I've put some space in pain, because then I can really see a lot of things in hindsight that I can't see, that pain usually will hide from me. And so like it's always cool, like I think about like being at the end of the year and just reflecting on elements of pain, and then asking, just like what was the benefit of it, and then just being able to see like just all these like just points of value that came from at one point in the year, at one time in the year, like this was a fucked up situation that was just like, wow, this is horrific. And then it's just, or whatever it is, right? Like this was challenging. And now it's like, wow, that was like totally a blessing. And because of that, this happened. And because of that, this happened. And now I'm here. And I just always like being able to reflect and like atone or neutralize like something that was painful, and then to be able to connect like blessings that were attached to that pain.
What were your top 5 like blessings from this last year, from 2021, that maybe started painfully?
Well, again, like I said, 2021 and 2020 is kind of combined for me. But top 5, say it again. Top 5
painful experiences that ended up being blessings.
I think so what's coming to me is some shifts in relationships, just some shifts with relationships that I was attached to that I'm not attached to, and like the pain that brought. But now that I've had some distance, like it's allowed me some clarity and allowed me to see some dynamics I couldn't see before, and just given me some awarenesses of that was causing me pain that I don't know, like just some shifts with that. I I think just awareness is around attachments and desires, and how a lot of my pain comes from some element of an attachment to a desire, and just trying to release that, that I'm operating out of this state of just my selfish desires, and trying to tap into, like God, and just go beyond myself, because I can't rely on myself, and I don't want to live for just myself. And so that puts me in a space where I'm trying to go beyond, and I'm trying to help the world. I don't know. You put me in a weird state asking me that question. I don't know how to answer that right now. That was the best I got.
I think that was a great answer. I'm sorry I put you in a weird state.
It was a heavy question.
Right, but I feel like I did warn you. I told you before. I said, hey, when we do our New Year's podcast, let's talk about like our 5 things we learned or we're grateful for.
I guess I just totally consumed it. And then right now, it's just in the moment, like, whoa.
It's hard. Even me thinking about it right now, it's also hard because I want to share, right, but not total specifics of
exactly.
things.
I think that's what really got me.
It's hard because, other people are involved, and there is this level of protection and sacredness and relationship, anonymity. So I get that. And I think the more that time goes on, the more we're able to share in terms of, you know what I mean? That's just how life is. Like when you're in it, and then when you're out of it, it's like, okay, like you sharing about your New Year's Eve and me sharing about New Year's Eve. Like I wouldn't have shared, there's just a lot of things I wouldn't have shared 5 years ago that now I've come to peace with.
And I think that's it. I think I'm still working through a couple of these things. So it was like, I'm not sure, like it's safe for me yet to share.
Right.
So it's interesting. Yeah. I'm definitely learning a lot right now.
I know for me, coming from a place of where I was raised very much like, don't tell anybody about this. Don't, people will think you're crazy. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your dad. Don't do this. Don't, like, oh, okay, I'm only supposed to appear perfect and reflect perfection and kind of keep these people safe at the behest of my truth and my experience in my heart. And so for me, coming out of that over the last several years has been like, wow, okay. Like it's weird to start to share my truth because there's this ingrained part of me that's like, you're hurting them. And it's like, bitch, I was hurt.
What just came up for me is it's just scary because there's just so many people in the world, and there's so much hate in the world right now, and there's so much pain in the world, and it just doesn't appear that too many people want to look within or find their part. Like everybody's so quick to try to just pass the blame. And
project
again,
their shadow.
No one's innocent and no one's guilty. Like everybody plays a part. And
100. You know what I say? I say it's like, okay, earlier in my life when I was not completely, but unconscious to my part, I blamed the other. And then as I started to do my inner work and connect to the truth within and to find God and to find myself and all of that, it was like, wow, it's my fault. And now it feels like I'm finding this middle of, okay, it is. Like we each played our part and it is what it is.
Both are true.
So, but my experience is my experience and it's valid and it is true. And their experience is their experience. It's valid and true. Like I really had to come to grips with the fact that I am a villain in some people's stories.
That's something that I've observed in the last 2 years. It's really come clear in culture, is that we live in a one-sided culture, and everybody's like focused on getting people to buy into this one story.
One
And
answer.
in one answer. And the truth of it is that there is no one story, one answer. Like for every set of eyes is a new story and a new perspective. Like again, I've always used this parable to try to explain it with us, and that's like we can both be looking at the same house, but if you're standing looking at the front of it and I'm standing looking at the back of it, we're both going to give a completely different description. But the truth is that we are both looking at the same house. And that's the thing that I don't think people can, that like it just doesn't seem like our society or culture like understands that. Like everybody's like, no, like it's the front of the house. This is what I'm seeing. I'm like, yeah, that's what you see, but this is what I see.
Well, and two, because that, right, our culture's rooted in ego, and the ego has to be right at any cost.
The mind, like when you exist in the mind, like that emotional map that I ended up kind of designing or writing, it's like it all stems from, we all operate out of two operating systems, either the mind or the heart. And when you're in the mind operating system, the mind has to get an answer and has to operate either that I'm the teacher or you're the student, and the heart can be both. And the heart is fully comfortable existing, living life, not knowing the answer. And just being.
That is one of the things you've taught me so much. And early in our relationship, and you would constantly bring it up, like your operating system, like our operating systems. And I didn't understand. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? But I knew inside of me that there was something that my whole life I'd been fighting against inside of me. My operating system that was inherited, that was taught me, that for whatever divine reason I was planted in, to grow out of, to become aware of, to transcend, to transform, and to be able to move from the operating system of the mind, of the ego, of the past, of the wounds, to the operating system of the spirit, of the heart, of the truth, of connection, of love, of safety, where I'm no longer having to defend what I think is right and my view of the house. Because I understand that for so long I wasn't allowed to give my view of the house. And that's what made me angry. So I will spend the rest of my life making sure you know what I see. And then eventually softening, you helped soften me, right? This element of, oh, wow, I can share what I see and you can share what you see, and both are real.
Both are truth.
There's no more bad guy. There's no more you're wrong and stupid.
Yeah, there's some interesting paradoxes to break through in life to find peace. At least for me, there has been.
Mm-hmm. I love your parables. I love how you see the world, baby.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
I appreciate it. It's definitely helped transform my life since I met you. It felt like I finally met someone who saw the world in the macro scale how I saw the world.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking the other day, I was actually listening to a sermon, and just this element of, it's not the wound, it's the scars, and it's the success. Like, like working through the pain, like that's like the value, the wealth. Like, just I have so much like cool experiences just going through pain, and there's just I don't know. There's something to that. I think that's like the life thing. Like someone that can go through pain and still smile and have hope. Like that's gangster.
That's it. That's
anybody
The
can have
dream.
everything go their way and be a nice person. You know, like the people that always amaze me are the people that are just like always so kind and nice, and then you find out like that they're just struggling, that they got something like horrific going on, and you wouldn't even know it. It's like, man, you're like, that's someone who I feel who's operating tapped into a higher source.
Not trying to give away their pain, discomfort to you, not needing you to be their savior. Because those
They
things
got a savior.
make me run away so fast.
Well, before they used to
It
pull
used
me
to
in.
pull me in because that's what I was.
I want to be a
this
savior.
is my role. That's
Yeah.
what I do. That's how I was raised. That's who
Yeah.
I was raised by. And now it's like, I've been there. I know that you can make it through. I
Wow,
love you.
I would say that that has been definitely one of my top awarenesses of 2020, is how by wanting to be the savior, I was trying to play God. And by me thinking that I need to save someone is me not having faith in God. And like to look at the truth, like to sit with my truth of like if I feel like I need to save someone, then I literally, like, I lost my faith. Now, if I feel like I'm guided by God to go help someone, that's different. You know, but I'm not someone's savior.
And for me, there's almost like the sign of the difference is guilt.
Yes.
Right? Like, am I doing this out of guilt? Do I
Yes.
feel guilt after? Do I feel resentment?
Or joy.
And that idea of like, change yourself, change the world. Like, give yourself what you need, and then you'll be a well, and then you'll be able to know when and how to give. But you won't feel bad doing it.
You know, it's interesting how, like, what just came up for me was like a sign or like a lesson that I learned in life of like, that it was like it was like love and not guilt, was when like I told someone no and they were actually okay with it. Like that was like, I'm thinking of a close friend right now where like it was just amazing to deny his request and to have it just being just so well received. That was a new experience for me, and that made me really see how much like relationships and how much we're always like just like secretly lacing things with these secret like little intentions and expectations and hidden contracts, and just how quickly relationships can become so complicated because like we're all guilty of it. Like we're constantly like writing and getting people to sign these like hidden contracts. It's very interesting. It's a very hard thing to become aware of and to capture, but I have had a few moments where I was able to do that this last year, and it's very eye-opening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me too. That's why I literally have, my circle of friends has gone down to, you know,
Yeah.
it's a small circle. But now from the circle, right, I can exhale and expand back out from this new rooted real place where there's no more games, there's boundaries, there's truth, there's purpose, there's love. And I'm just not interested in any secret contracts or weird things that are worded strange, or being indebted or guilted and not being respected or seen or listened to. It's like I'm done with that.
You want to tell the honey story? Farmers market?
No.
Okay.
I want you to do the shout out of the week, because this week we have a wonderful shout out.
Oh, it disappeared.
Allegro Life.
Allegro Life.
You can follow on Instagram at Allegro_life.
Yep, and they build gardens, property management, and development, from homegrown foods to homesteading. And a really close personal friend of mine, one of my favorite golfing buddies, and they are doing some amazing things. And a town that they're living in outside of Vegas, Blue Diamond, and just an amazing human. and building little miniature farms so people can grow food, because that's really where people will get their power, I believe, is when we can all learn how to grow food. We no longer need anybody to survive. So yeah, big shout out to Charlie at Allegro Life.
Yes, Charlie, we love you.
Very much.
We love what you're doing. We love Allegro Life. It's just so amazing to be able to build gardens and make the dream manifest. And I mean, come on.
That has become abundantly clear to me that a big piece of our system that is broken is food. And I really believe that, like, I mean, it goes back to the Bible, the beginning. It's like the garden, like the return to the Garden of Eden, that we can grow what we need. We can, like, it's abundant. We live in an abundant place. We don't need to travel. We just need to take care of Mother Earth.
Right. And I mean, the control has been taken away from us. It's been purposely used against us, and in terms of food, and none of us have control over our own food. We don't have connection to our food. Our power has been taken away willingly. We didn't even recognize. And now we're returning.
However we got here, I mean, it could have been intentions. I know sometimes we think we're doing something good by accelerating a pattern or a pace, but everything has a cause and effect. And I think sometimes, like I notice with myself, like sometimes, when we try to rush something, like it just doesn't turn out as well. And just having to accept it, like, hey, I've got to slow down and just accept that this is the pace at which this safely grows, and that, hey, it's going to take this much time before this is ready to grow again. And we're constantly trying to push things and rush things and get things to grow faster and better and taller. And it's like, hey, when is enough? And when are we going to be okay? And I think that that's what we're all having to face, because we were all set with this standard that taller's better, bigger's better, more's better, more in this element, that more and better is the answer. And that's not sustainable. And, we've kind of, I think, reached the edge. And so now we're kind of having to pull back and do a little inhale and not just exhale. And yeah, growing food is, I think, a key element to that shift.
We've grown a few eggplants in our new townhouse here in Vegas. And peppers are a good one. They grow a lot. We had some beautiful cilantro happening. And we have Louis the lemon tree for about 5 years, and we're still waiting on the lemon.
And I think what just came to me too is, like, it's interesting how just growing one plant that produces one piece of fruit or vegetable, like, it changes your whole outlook and your whole level of respect and understanding to food and what you eat. Like, it just, if you go through that process, it will change your perspective.
You know what really to change my perspective on food in a huge way was when I first started food serving and at Gordon Biersch. And that very first day, clearing plates and seeing the amount of food that was thrown away every day, I was like it shook me. Like, I was like, all of a sudden nothing made sense.
Can I tell you that working banquets has never shook my core of that more than anything? Especially, like, you got to think about these casinos and, like, a breakfast banquet. Like, I have never seen so much food wasted than a Vegas casino morning banquet, because these companies come in and they pay for their 1,000 employees to get breakfast, but 909 of them stayed out late last night and literally can barely get down the orange juice and show up late and aren't waking up early. So it's like, it's, there's some cool, Foursquare is a cool program. I know they pick up a lot of that food and try to repurpose it. And I know that they do a lot of cool stuff with, like, the pig farm and the farms. I know MGM is really trying to do some stuff. Bellagio was always, there was always people coming in and, trying to do something with it. But it is very interesting to just see the truth of our systems.
That was something that I really loved when I worked at Starbucks, over a decade ago, was when we'd mark out the pastries, someone came for the homeless shelter, and all of that went to the shelter.
That's so cool.
Which that always was like, okay, nice. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
That I understand. Throwing this all away, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But gratitude. I'm just very grateful. I'm grateful. As dark as it's been and seemingly been, I'm grateful for the new direction of the world. And it depends on what eyes are you seeing with, because it's full of opportunity right now. There's nowhere to go but towards the light. I want to share my quote. Those of you who follow King Pollys Does Yoga on Instagram, I've been doing a quote and writing every day since 2020 began. And so the quote I chose to close out this year with is by the great, the wonderful, the mystical Alan Watts. You are under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. I love that. And what just came to me was, and this sounds funny, but when I decided to finally delete my Facebook, it was almost like I was deleting all restriction that kept me tied to who I've been. I was deleting the connection of people who wanted me to stay who I was. I was breaking the box open. I was choosing a scary kind of different route. As weird as it sounds, like deleting your Facebook, but it's like, as someone who had it since college, right? And all this like life and friendships and connections, relationships and family, it really made me realize, like, wow, I've been able to really step into my fullness of being and who I really am and who I'm meant to be at the highest level. I've been able to step into that through letting other things go and all my past selves, grieving that, acknowledging, loving, knowing I carry all of those parts of myself still with me. And that's all been the soil for me to be able to be the new higher version of myself today.
That reminds me of the saying that someone shared with me is, I have the right to be wrong and I have the right to change my mind. And that literally was like the most profound sentence I had heard up until that moment. And it really like started to soften my ability to live.
You've really helped me with that. You introduced me to that concept of being allowed to change your mind.
Right? Like you said
this, you said this, which was all coming out of a place of fear and woundedness, and that you changing is a reflection of your love for me, right? Or whatever, that taking everything personal. And it is this level of, I'm allowed to change my mind.
And I think the reality of that we're always changing. I think we're so scared of change and we want to hold on and we want to be able to capture and protect and keep because, again, the fear of death and, I don't know, just this element of letting go and trusting.
I love it, baby. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's trust fall into the new year together.
Yeah.
Me and you. At the same time.
I have one little shout out that came out, or just something I would like to share when I'm on the podcast, is that the golf barn, and that if anybody has old golf clubs that they would like to donate or offer, to just message me on on Instagram, and maybe we can meet at Angel Park or somewhere, or wherever. I'll come pick it up if you have used golf equipment, I'm happy to, in the Vegas area, I'm happy to come pick it up.
And what is it? At Golf Barn? Just at Golf Barn?
Or at Love for Golf.
Okay.
Either way, message me if you have any used golf equipment.
And what will you do with it?
Give it to kids.
There you go.
Repurpose it.
There you go. Not make a buck. Give it to kids.
I mean, who knows what? I don't know if I can give everything away for free. I don't know. We'll see how the whole system works, but definitely super cheap. Donation.
All right. Donate your golf things. Sounds great.
That just turned out really weird and complicated. But yeah, basically, I'm trying to figure some stuff out still. I'm in the research and development stage, but I've been repurposing used golf equipment and getting it to kids at the cheapest rate possible. And I've been able to get kids golf clubs for really cheap.
That's awesome, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Good work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you all so much for joining us on this special 2022 New Year's Eve podcast. We did it. We've joined you now for the whole month of December and this upcoming year. I can't wait to sit down with some other guests. I just have to reach out to them. That's the hardest part of this whole thing. No, all of it's hard. Doing all of this is hard, but it's my purpose and I love it. What else am I going to do? So thank you for being here. I love you. I'm sending you a lot of love and gratitude. Both of us are.
Love and light, gratitude, be gentle.
Be gentle. Be gentle with yourselves. Be gentle.
Be kind to my friend, which is you.
And you're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago.